We'll begin by lighting our unity candle, reminding us that that flame of the divine, the spark of life, that glow of God is within each and every one of us. And so as we come together as spiritual community, we come together recognizing the life of God is the life in each one. Join me in our opening prayer. As we hear the vibration of the chimes and recognize that life is continually vibrating, we turn our attention within to that place of the divine, where we meet the God of our understanding, knowing that God is always with us. And so we're grateful for the ability to tap in to our divine essence, the life of God that is our very life. And as we come together today, I bless this time, this spiritual idea in the mind of God to be the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. So I bless each one of us as we turn our attention to the things of spirit. We open our hearts, we open our minds, and we know that all is well. So I'm grateful for this time. I'm grateful for this technology that connects us. And I bless each one of us that we will receive the message that Spirit has for us today. I release my word, and we seal it by saying together, and so it is. Good morning. I'm Reverend Rick McCollum, and I am so happy you're here with us today. We are an inclusive spiritual community. We recognize that there are many ways for each of us to have a relationship with the God of our understanding. And so as we come together, we just acknowledge that we honor all paths to the divine. We know that there's not just one way to worship the God of our understanding. There's not just one set of experiences to have, but we all are honored as individual expressions of the diversity of our knowledge of God. So welcome. We're glad you're with us today. And now we move to our opening song, We Welcome You, Spirit, by Kai.
We welcome you, Spirit, as we gather here to love one another in ways you make clear. We lift up our hearts in joy and open our minds. We welcome you, Spirit, in this holy time. We welcome you, Spirit, as we gather here to love one another in ways you make clear. We lift up our hearts in joy and open our minds. We welcome you, Spirit, in this holy time. We welcome you, Spirit, in this holy time.
And now we move to our time of spiritual reading and then meditation. And our practitioner today is Vicki.
Good morning, everyone. The reading today comes from the Science of Mind text, page number 465, And our theme, commensurate with the monthly theme of digging deep, is direct spiritual experience. And I was so tickled when Rick named that theme, because I said, oh, Ernest Holmes has a section specified exactly that in the text. And it is actually one of my very favorite passages. So this is the reading, and the meditation will follow immediately from this. We need spiritual experience, a fresh first-hand knowledge of life and reality. There is no medium between God and man, nothing between life and living, between heaven and hell, but an idea and what we make of it. In conversation, we assume great knowledge of religion and philosophy, but how much do we really experience? We can have only that which we experience in actuality. All great religions have taught truths, but it means nothing to us unless it becomes our truth. We need spiritual experience. We shall never know peace that is lasting until we embody it. We shall never know truth that is lasting until we become that truth. And we cannot know the God of our creation unless we experience it directly within our own being. The Spirit is ever giving, but we must take. When life does not, as much as we have done through, let me say that again. Life only does as much as can be done through us. Spiritual experiences are deep, calm, and self-assertive. It is the result of actually realizing the presence which binds us all together is one within us, that we are the whole. We are the ones we've been waiting for. I'm going to take just a little pause, and I invite you to pause with me. Take a little pausing breath. Make sure you're comfortable in your chairs. And let us embark on a brief journey of direct spiritual experience. Unique to you, it gets shared by us all. Find that place within where quite likely you've been many times, that comfortable place for you where you do guided meditations. Settle in and relax, remembering that the fullness of the essence that hung the stars is right here, right now. And as you contemplate this idea of direct spiritual experience, recognize and realize that every moment you've lived is a direct spiritual experience. For spirit is what we are. We cannot be separated from the source of direct spiritual experience. And so, with this suggestion in mind, take a breath and invite your being to remember. Set aside all of the ideas in your head about God right now, and allow your breathing to open your soul to remembering what has meant spirit to you, what has meant universal to you, what has meant compassion to you. Each of us have actually had those moments. The challenge may have been that the moments we have known, the universal, the moments we have felt connected to ourselves and to life, haven't been what was reflected back to us from those around us that said, this is spirit. And so when our heads come into a distinction with our hearts, then we're unsure. But this is a moment to allow yourself to acknowledge your truth, your direct experience of being connected to life. Perhaps put your hand on your heart for a moment. Your heart knows your story. Your heart knows your connection to God, even if it has layers and layers of armor. Tap the armor. Don't have to break it open. Just tap it and say, I am here. I am here of spirit. Even with all the armor, your heart knows your truth of your connection to God. Allow yourself to recall, if you had never been held back, if no one had ever said to you that your dream or your vision or your toys were not God, where would you have known? Did you have a velveteen rabbit? Did you see the face of God in a newborn sibling before the challenges started? Do you see God floating across the sky in the clouds? Your story, your direct experience of God is with you right now. So just take a moment to the best of your ability and embrace it. See if you can move your concept of God from your head to your heart, and then see if you can also move your concept of God from your gut, from your deepest knowing, up to your heart. See if your confluence, see if your central hub, like that beautiful picture of the golden paths of God, see if you can create for yourself a hub that says, this is an idea of God that I have, and this over here is an idea of God that I have, and this over here is an idea of God that I have, and they are hubbed at my center, and then they express from that center. Give yourself a moment and then simply say that I am willing to have this process continue. I am willing to begin trusting myself and my knowing of divine spirit by any name. Thank you, thank you, thank you, presence of life. I just release it with the heart of a child. Maybe open your arms, open your hands, release it to the universal and let it be. And so it is.
Thank you, Vicki. And now we move to our special music for today. If I can get the slide to move. And this is by Fearless Soul, and the song is called Believe.
You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your ability. You're capable of anything. You can achieve any dream. Please don't limit yourself. Don't live your life limited. It's not all sadness and misery. Life's a challenge, but you will succeed. Take control of how you feel in every circumstance. Work on yourself daily. Your story's far from done. to come. To achieve, you must believe. You can live out all your dreams. Persevere, you'll make it through. What you need is all in you. When you believe, you will achieve. You can live out all your dreams. It's about time you knew the truth. You got the power all in you. Anything, you can be your true self. Don't need to follow society. Never forget that you're blessed. Give thanks for everything. Even the hard times will turn out to be blessings. No matter how you feel, you can learn from your pain. It's there to make you great. Your story's far from done. The best is yet to come. To achieve, you must believe. You can live out all your dreams. Persevere, you'll make it through. What you need is all in you. When you believe, you will achieve. You can live out all your dreams. It's about time you knew the truth. You got the power all in you. To achieve, you must believe. You can live out all your dreams. Persevere, you'll make it through. What you need is all in you. When you believe, you will achieve. You can live out all your dreams. It's about time you knew the truth. You got the power all in you.
So, did you get the message? The message that you can achieve and the best is yet to come. It's what we know for our lives. That we've got the power within each and every one of us. I'm grateful to Reverend Patty for her message last week. And I know she talked about one way we go further together is being aware of the love, that love is the connector of all people. And when we love each other, we encourage each other, and that's how we can go further together. But I also heard Reverend Patty say in her talk that we can read spiritual readings, we can attend workshops, we can go to classes, we can gain all this knowledge. But until we drop down from our head to our heart and experience the divine, nothing will change in our life. You see, many people have a lot of knowledge, but unless they're putting that to use, unless they're having an experience from that increased knowledge, their life doesn't change. So I'm building on this idea today with our talk, Dig Deep. Now you might wonder, well, what are we digging for? And I think Vicki gave you the perfect answer. We're digging for that firsthand experience of God. You see, ministers, practitioners, spiritual counselors can all tell you about their experience of interacting with the divine presence. You can watch TV and you can see seeming miracles performed on others. But my experience in life has taught me that each and every one of us want to have our own experience of the divine presence. We want to have our own knowledge that God is real for us. So I know that if we're really going to have pep in our step, if we're going to have pride in our stride, it's going to come from understanding our power as spiritual beings, who we really are. And that power is within each and every one of us. People don't just want to hear about God. They don't want to just talk about God. They want to experience God. Well, how do we experience God? You might wonder that. And I would say that this is our spiritual work. First, we have to be awake and alert to what we're thinking, to how we're responding to life and the situations that are presented to us. Now, I'm calling it work or using that word, but it's not because God is difficult to find or is eluding us. It takes work to keep our mind focused on that invisible power that's everywhere present, the source of all life, all energy, and it's everywhere around us. You see, the fish in the sea don't know what water is because it's all around them and it's inside of them. It's the same way with us, with spirit. We are immersed in spirit, and it's all around us and within us. And so sometimes it's hard for us to recognize what spirit is. Everything we do is an experience with spirit. The birds of the air know spirit. They trust it as the air to support them. They open their wings and they surrender to the natural flow of the air around them. Now they can flap their wings, which to me means they're doing their work. And of course they fly. The air carries them and they trust it. Do you trust spirit? Do you trust spirit to guide you? Think about that for a moment. What would it look like to you if spirit was guiding you? Could it be that you were listening to that intuitive voice within? Might it be that you're calming your mind to hear and feel the nudges that spirit provides? My experience has been spirit nudges me often, and I get to pay attention. We can begin to recognize spirit within and around us as we recognize ourselves and all others as spiritual beings that we truly are. It means putting our spirituality first, having a focus in our life for spiritual things. We do this by having a disciplined spiritual practice, by taking time daily for affirmative prayer, meditation, visioning, journaling, opening ourselves to ideas of spirit that float through our mind. Maybe for you, it's taking a walk in nature. It's committing to deepening our spiritual consciousness in whatever way speaks to you to deepen your spiritual consciousness. If we can become aware of when our ego is driving our bus and when our heart is driving us, then we can be awake to make the choice to live in a spiritual atmosphere of unconditional love and compassion for ourselves and for others. This type of disciplined spiritual practice opens us to our spiritual magnificence. When we know our magnificence, we transform our life. And then we encourage those around us to step into their spiritual magnificence. This is one way we go further together because we're encouraging each other. As a community based in spiritual community, we encourage speech and actions that recognize the divine life manifesting in each person. We see with our spiritual vision. We see our unity instead of our differences. We are one in God. Now, my personal spiritual philosophy has always been, if I know something, I want everybody else to know it. If I can understand it, surely other people can. Some people have a different philosophy, though. They think information is power, and if they know something that you don't, then they feel like they have power over you. What I know is there's only one mind, and that's the mind of God, and we all use that same mind. Unlimited ideas are available to everyone. Now, I will admit there was a time in my life when I thought if I tell people everything I know, I'm going to run out of things to share. What will I talk about? I won't have any more stories to tell or examples to give. As I have grown spiritually, I've learned how limited that thinking is. I also learned that it meant I was not trusting Spirit as my source of unlimited supply. Do you trust Spirit as your source of unlimited supply for whatever you need? If not, can you see how a belief like that can limit your experience of life? Can you see how it limits the experience of God? If we're not trusting God to give us everything we need all the time, not just when we're feeling good, not just when we're around others of like mind, but even when we're by ourselves, even when we're having those bad days. Can we know that Spirit is still there, that I'm still going to get whatever it is that I need, that I can turn within and experience that peace of God? In Science of Mind, we read on page 141, realizing then that while the power is limitless, it must become operative through our own thought. We shall see that what we need is not some greater power, but a greater consciousness, a deeper realization of life, a more sublime concept of being, a more intimate concept of an already indwelling God. When we accept that truth, that Spirit or God is our supply, and that Spirit is unlimited in what it knows and what it offers us, our lives open to our magnificence. I am limited in my experience of God only by what my mind will accept. It's up to me to work on developing my openness to a greater consciousness, to a deeper realization of the infinite God within. And that, I would offer, is your spiritual work as well. To open your mind to a greater consciousness, to a deeper realization of the infinite God within. I want to share a visual with you. So think of this, water. Water is a great metaphor for the limitless power of God. Imagine yourself sitting beside a beautiful waterfall. Close your eyes. Hear the rush of the water over the rocks. It's cascading down the waterfall and hitting the pool at the bottom. As you sit there with your eyes closed, feel the power moving over that waterfall. Breathe in that picture for just a moment. Feel the power of it. Now, see in your mind's eye a turbine hooked to a generator. As the water is flowing through the turbine, the power of the water creates mechanical energy, and that drives the generator. The generator turns that energy into electrical energy. Now consider this question. By taking this energy out of the flowing water, so to speak, does it deplete the energy of the waterfall? Of course not. The energy of the flowing water cannot be depleted. And that's like spirit. The energy of spirit is never depleted. Yes, we tap into it. We use it in our life. We draw from it, but it doesn't deplete the power of spirit. Infinite power, unlimited ideas, limitless possibility and potentiality. They're available to all of us. Do we have a big enough concept of God? It's up to us to tap into spirit and into that infinite power and possibility. And this means we find ways to harness the power of spirit in our own life. We do this often with a daily spiritual practice to guide ourselves. Then we have the opportunity to live from our true spiritual nature, because that's where we're focused. We're focused on being in relationship with spirit, in aligning our life and our thought with spirit. And then our true nature comes forth. And what is our true nature? It's unconditional love and compassion for all people. I read a story this week about a father who was visiting his son's elementary school. He saw a brightly colored bench on the playground. Each piece of wood on the bench was a different bright primary color. He was attracted to it, and he asked his son if that was the only place to sit. His son said, "No, that's the bench of friends." The son went on and said, if someone's lonely or can't find a game partner, they sit on the bench, and others will invite them to play with them. The father looked at his son and he said, "Have you used the bench of friends?" And the little boy said, "When I was new here, I went and sat there, and another student came over and invited me to play. That made me feel so happy. Whenever I see someone sitting there, I go over and invite them to play with me." What a concept, I thought. We could all use a bench of friends from time to time, couldn't we? A place where we could go when we don't feel a part of things, and let people know that we need a little help to be drawn back into community. It brings to mind for me the World Ministry of Prayer at Centers for Spiritual Living. Our organization has this ministry of prayer. They have a website where you can go and request a prayer, and a practitioner will email or call you with the prayer. You can follow the instructions on the website and build your own prayer. Or you can listen to recorded prayers. At certain times during the week, they have practitioners who are in person to answer the phone lines, to talk with you and pray with you. When I think of that, I think of it as kind of a spiritual version of this bench of friends. My point here is that if we want to have a personal experience of God, we must do our work. We must reach out to the practitioner for help, or stop and go within to that place of silence where Spirit is always waiting for us. In Richer Living, Ernest Holmes says, "Deep within each of us, there is a place of calm, of peace and security, where trouble and accidents do not occur, where truth and love reign supreme, and good is the only power. It is to this place that we daily go, in the silence of our own minds, to commune with the Spirit that is both around us and within us." Are you ready to dig deep and spend some time daily cultivating your personal relationship with the God of your understanding? This is our personal work, and nobody can do it for us. You can't get it by hanging out with spiritual people, but we certainly can encourage each other to develop our own spiritual practice so that we can each tap into that place of communion with the divine. And when we do this for ourselves, then we harness that infinite power of spirit for our own empowerment. Our song talked about all we need is within us, and that's because spirit is within us. Thich Nhat Hanh said, enlightenment, peace, and joy will not be granted by someone else. The well is within us, and if we dig deeply in the present moment, the water will spring forth. So we get to do our own work and experience the divine. I have a story to share with you about experiencing the divine. The story is about the dedication of a church, and a young minister stood during the dedication and recited the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. The minister went on and on throughout the psalm. His recital was flawless, every word perfect. When he finished, the audience was visibly impressed and even applauded. Then a member of the congregation stood and asked if the church's elderly minister would also recite the 23rd Psalm. The old minister was somewhat surprised by the request, but nevertheless he rose to his feet and recited the psalm. But his delivery was not nearly as eloquent as the younger minister. He stumbled over the words a couple times, and his voice cracked while he was talking. It was clear he was not as skilled as an elocutionist. When he finished, the room was silent. No applause. But there was not a dry eye in the house. Everyone was deeply moved. A congregant sitting in the back of the sanctuary leaned over to his friend and said, I don't understand. The younger minister's delivery was perfect, and he was applauded. But the older minister kind of messed up the psalm. And yet we were all so moved. His friend, wiping a tear from his eye, said, you see, the younger minister knows the psalm, but the older minister knows the shepherd. What moves us is a personal relationship with the shepherd, with our beloved, the God of our understanding. I have heard it often said, the longest journey of your life will be the 14 inches from your head to your heart. If you want to dig deep, what are you digging for? To get it right in the eyes of the world, or to have it right in your soul? To have the peace of God and the love and joy of Spirit within you. Elizabeth Lesser is quoted as saying, deep in the center of the self are the soul cells of who you really are. Dig for them, believe in them, and offer them to another person. Then you can heal each other's hearts and keep love alive forever. We are here to show love, unconditional love to the world. How are you doing with that mission? I invite you to consider doing some homework this week. Take some time to dig a little deeper, to work a little harder at your spiritual practice, to surrender to the guidance of the divine, to live from your true nature. And that true nature is love. As you dig, into spirit. You're putting down deep roots. And I saw a quote this morning from the Science of Mind archives. So I invite you to consider this in your personal spiritual time this week. The quote says, when the roots are deep, there is no reason to fear the wind. When the roots are deep, there is no reason to fear the wind. Let us pray. Spirit, we open our hearts and minds to receive the message today. I understand for each one of us that if we are to dig deep, we must have our spiritual practice to come into communion with you. Help us, God, to be open. Help us to be patient with ourselves and to love ourselves enough to be open to the fullness of life, to the infinite possibilities, to understand and live from our spiritual magnificence. Let our hearts be filled with the knowledge of compassion for one another, so that as a spiritual community, we encourage each other. And in encouraging and healing each other, we ourselves are encouraged and healed. So I speak my word of blessing for each one, that as we go through this week, we learn that we can dig deep, so our spiritual roots are strong. And then we know no matter what life circumstances happen, we are always guided, guarded, and protected by that divine embrace. Thank you. Thank you for the truth of this. I release my word, knowing that it goes into the law that only says yes. And so it is. Namaste.
Now we'll have our prosperity time. As your practitioner of the week, I want to invite you to take a look in the chat, knowing that we are so grateful for your gifts. I'm getting my basket. We receive your gifts in so many ways. And in a practical level, for donations that you'd like to offer, you can mail a check, you can do Givelify, you can do PayPal. And if any of you ever have any difficulty with our receiving what you'd like to give, just let us know, because we appreciate it so much. And it is a reciprocal thing. For every gift that you give, we are returning it to you tenfold in our hearts. And our prosperity affirmation for today is: the love and light of spirit radiates peace, prosperity, and happiness in my life. So now if you would say it with me: the love and light of spirit radiates peace, prosperity, and happiness in my life. Yes. And now Reverend Rick will bless our offering. We'll give him the baskets.
So I bless this offering, knowing that as we give, we also receive, and that each person is blessed. For I declare that blessing. I know that all the gifts go to serve and work the ministry of the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. And so as we, as a spiritual organization, are blessed, we also turn that out to the world and bless the world through all that we do. Blessings to each one, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Rick. Now we'll turn to announcements. I'll give you a moment to do a slide, perhaps. I know you all recognize this radiant, wise face. And it is my pleasure to announce that Miss Pat Ferguson is our special guest speaker for next week. And I cannot wait. As you see there, she will be talking on I'll Meet You There. And it will be a culmination of all the messages to this point. And thank you, thank you, thank you, Pat. This is a demonstration for me. And that takes us to You Are Magnificent. And now Reverend Rick is going to take us to our closing song.
Thank you, Vicki. And our closing song, Good Job.
You're the engine that makes all things go, and you're always in disguise, my hero. I see your light in the dark, smile in my face when we all know it's hard. There's no way to ever pay you back. Bless your heart, know I love you for that. Honest and selfless, I don't know if this helps it, but good job, you're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, 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 yeah.
6 in the morning, as soon as you walk through that door, everyone needs you again. The world's out of order. It's not a sound when you're not around.
All day on your feet, hard to keep that energy. I know when it feels like the end of the road, you don't let go, you just press forward. You're the engine that makes all things go, go. Always in disguise, my hero. I see a light in the dark, smile in my face when we all know it's hard. There's no way to ever pay you back. Bless your heart, know I love you for that. Honest and selfless, I don't know if this helps it, but
Good job, you're doing a good job, a good job.
good job.
You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, matter, matter.
Good job.
You're doing a good job, a good job.
Yeah.
You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter, matter, matter.
Yeah.
Mothers, the fathers, the teachers that reach us, strangers to friends that show up in the end. From the bottom to the top, the listeners that hear us, this is for you.
You make me feel like
You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now. Know that you matter.
Thank you so much to our first responders, our healthcare workers, our mothers.
Thank you to our moms and our dads. Thank you to our teachers who've helped us.
We know it's been hard, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
And now for our benediction. Know that as you go from this gathering today, you go as the light of spirit. You go into the world doing a good job. and you share that message with others, that knowing they are the light of Spirit, your words and your love encourages all. So bless you this week as you move out into the world to share the joy, the peace, and the love of Spirit. As you dig deep within yourself to put down your spiritual roots, let them nourish you to a life of spiritual magnificence. My blessings to you, and so it is.